Belinda Clarke is the newly minted CEO of the Restaurant and Catering Association. She joins us in the Man Cave right now because you represent the small businesses that have been through so much for 2 years. They had to change everything about their business. They were told how many people were allowed to be in their business. Now, 5% increase in their wages bill. How are they feeling? I mean, it must feel like the screws as well as energy are just tighter every day.
Oh, it's been a rough few days, I'll say that. I think that we know that the cost of living has gone up, so we did expect something to happen yesterday. However, when you're dealing with the fact of those basic things, so their rents, they've got a hangover of debt over the last 2 years that they're still just trying to get ahead of. The last 2 years, we missed out on $10 billion worth of reservations. They're just trying to move forward, and then they've got their food prices going up, produce 50% more than what it was, rents. Now we've got staffing. It's pretty tough. There's been some pretty tough conversations today.
Yeah, this is it. Can we actually play Philip? Now, Philip's a bloke who owns a cafe. We had him on Sky News a bit earlier in the day. Roll the tape, because this is a perfect example of the type of person that just we fight for, we fire up on the behalf of, because hopefully somebody in Canberra or somewhere in media can see a face put onto it. Here is the exact face of what you're talking about here, Belinda. Here is Philip.
We just cannot do it. We cannot survive on that. And long term, will we be able to open? Probably not at this point.
Philip, how are you holding up then with all of these cost pressures?
Save your tears for the pillow. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
And it's that thing, Belinda, where we understand in small business you take on risk. Everyone knows that that's the risk. But when it feels like the goalposts move and move and move, and after those 2 years where they were just pulled out of the ground, it's all good for big business and big government because nothing really changed for them. The paycheck kept coming through, the income was exactly the same. But for people like Philip, for your members, it is brittle. It is still brittle times.
I'll give you an interesting fact. We ran a survey, and that survey said that 70% of business owners either didn't pay themselves or were underpaying themselves significantly. Now, that's astonishing. Very, very low margins in restaurants. They don't know what else to do. There's no more levers to pull. I think that's the challenge that we're facing right now with them.
Well, and this is, again, when we talk about cost of living, we only view it, or too many people only view it through the customer, not through the business. And the whole point is, again, it's made out to be hard-hearted if you're talking about the minimum wage increase, the poorest workers amongst us. I understand why they made the decision. But if you don't understand that the commercial rent of the cafe owner has gone up in the past 12 months, if you don't understand that the power bill, again, when the margin is like that, you're underpaying or not paying yourself, at some point you just run out of money, which means all the jobs disappear.
Correct. It's not about the $40 a week in the pay packet. It's that, will they lose their job? Yep. That's the biggest issue that we're dealing with. It's really, really heartbreaking.
So as a customer, how do we help support our local business? How do we make sure that that they've got a good revenue stream when you're watching us tonight, what we can do at our local cafe or restaurant this weekend?
Don't complain if you have a surcharge on the weekends. Number one. They're paying more. Sometimes baristas are getting $50 an hour on a weekend. Also, if you do see prices increase, then they're doing it for a reason. They don't want to be increasing. There's been huge resistance the last 10 years in increasing prices, but now they have to do it. And as consumers, I hope that everybody supports them.
Yeah, that's a good point. In the same way that they kept saying all the way through the pandemic, look, don't lose your cool at the person at the checkout, don't blow up. And same as when you ring the bank, you don't yell at the person who's on the other end. They're not the one running the bank, setting the policy. The poor person behind the counter who's either working or running the joint, they'd love to give you the dollar coffee, but they can't do it.
Exactly. That's the best thing we can do on the weekend is support those local businesses.
The other thing you can do is book a table. Book a table this weekend. Get a couple of mates. In the same way we did this about local tourism, we can now do it for these particular industries. Belinda, lovely to talk to you. All the best with the new gig, and I look forward to talking to you many times in the future.
Thank you again.